A lot of people want to just be loving. Well, good luck. It takes a lifetime to get to loving. I'm not there. I am loving sometimes. The times I'm loving get longer, and the times between those times get shorter. Well, I'm good with that. So I actually have a goal to become a little less of a selfish pig every day. I'm happy with the goal. And I assess how I'm doing pretty much quarterly. Because if you assess how you're doing by the day, oh, you're really not going to like that graph. It will look distressingly like a buzzsaw with lots of little teeth, and you will grind yourself on them. Don't do it. Take your progress by the quarter. Relax. And overall, I'm pretty happy about it. Does that make sense? So I don't even worry about the mistakes. So I coach people all day long, every day. That's what I do. People say, what do you do as a hobby? This. What do you do for fun? This. What do you do for a living? This. This is as cool as it gets. And I'm just getting a little better at it all the time. Quarter by quarter. So like sometimes people will say, well, I couldn't hear that because you told it to me the wrong way. Actually, I've heard that at least twice. You know, memorize this answer. I don't care. No kidding. I don't care. What do I not care about? You? No. I don't care even whether it was wrong. Do you see? So, how would I know? It's past. The moment of inspiration's past. It's in the past. I'm living right here. So, can I judge that it was wrong because it hurt your feelings? Oh, no. Otherwise, all children would stay home from school and eat chocolate and sugared cereals. If you give people what they like, it will kill them. Yeah? So, what you need is often exactly what you would not invite, and what, after you get it, you will hate. Really. I'm good with that. It's one of my defining characteristics, one of my gifts, if you like, as a human, as a coach. I ain't afraid if this is going to hurt your feelings at all. None. As many of you are going, well, it's worse than that. I don't care. So I do the best I can to teach people what they need to hear. Am I always right? Couldn't be. Couldn't be. Do I care which times I wasn't? Nope, because I judge it by the quarter. Get it? Overall, am I getting it right? Uh-huh. Were there times that I was wrong? Now, occasionally I know when I'm wrong because I'm pissed and tell you you're being stupid and blind. But, boy, is that rare. I reserve that for Donna, and she's all the more blessed because of it. Her state is all the more gracious. Yes. But from moment to moment, I haven't got time to fuss about that. About what happened yesterday or the month before. You hurt my feelings. And I go, okay, what do you want to do now? Because I'm not even interested in the story. Do you want to feel love now, or do you want to dissect the poopy diaper from a month ago? Oh, wow, whoa. That was peas. Yep. Corn. Remember your baby diapers and corn? There it is. Yeah, kid said he didn't get in the corn, but... Kid said he didn't eat his fire truck, but there's the letter. Would somebody give a mic? I'll hear you and just repeat it.
I can speak really loudly because God gave me a voice.
Boom.
I'm sort of new to this, but the seeing section of it, I guess I don't quite understand that. Maybe because I see a lot of my own behaviors myself, and is the point to help people see what they're doing unconsciously because they're conditioned so much into these behaviors all this time, so it's to be able to see other people so they can start doing a pattern interruption or like that's, I guess.
So her question is, tell me how I did. I only got a B with Bill, so we'll see. Have a seat, relax. She said, so what's with this seeing stuff, or being seen? What's the deal? I mostly see my own, getting and protecting behavior, so why be seen by other people? 2 reasons. 1, you don't see your behaviors. It's a law. You don't. So occasionally people will call me and say, I want to do an intervention, and I go, do you have a partner? Yes, but I want to come by myself. With rare exceptions, I say, not a chance. Because they lie. So I had a guy come down from Ohio. I spent an hour and a half with him. Just an hour and a half. And I said, go call your wife. Tell her to get on a plane now. Come down now, tonight. And then we'll finish talking for the next couple of days. Because every word out of his mouth was a lie. And he meant it. Sincere, oh my goodness. Much like Dale. Sincerely lying. That'll teach you to talk about me. And he would sincerely tell you what his life was like, what his behaviors were. He listed them. And then his wife came down. Now, admittedly, of course she would exaggerate them. I got that. I can do an exaggeration filter. But whoa, he didn't tell the truth about anything. Not about noon. So A, you don't see them, and people will help you. But that's not the most important thing. It's good to see them. The most important thing is knowing that somebody sees you. That is a feeling. So this woman who apparently Tim has killed and buried. She has ascended. She came up and she said, I feel understood. Before she told me anything. That's the point. I feel seen. I feel it. Then she gave me additional information, and then she'll feel more seen. And the more seen she is, the more she feels it, and the more I can add to what she might see. I'm not going to make her. It's twofold. Make sense?
Yeah, I guess in my mind in the meeting, you're doing self-report about what you did that week or how you behaved, and so and then people are supposed to see you in that. But if, for example, it's true that we don't really see ourselves anyway, like how I guess they don't.
So she's saying in meetings, it feels like sometimes it's just a self-report. So then how do people see you additionally? So if that's happening in your real love meetings, the ones you're going to, then the wise men aren't paying attention. I don't know that that's happening. See? From your report alone, I have no idea what's happening. But this is what happens in 12-step meetings. Is that people come, I'm Fred, I am an alcoholic. I used to drink. What a mess my life was. But now I have ascended. And I have been clean for 30 years. And he sits down and people go, gosh, wow, cool, Fred. Oh, let's see. He's abusive, uses Ativan every day. His children hate him. His wife wants to kill him in his sleep. He's angry all day. He didn't report a thing. And in 12-step meetings, almost all 12-step meetings, what they call crosstalk, somebody commenting on what you're saying is forbidden. You've got to be kidding me. So let us not offer any additional insights to the blamed people. You talk about what you say, And then if somebody is listening, like Vina was talking about, I hear what you're saying, but then I go, so then are you doing this too? Do you see why you do that? Now, there's a tendency in groups, none of this is a criticism, I'm just saying we can get lost in it, to get too detailed about, okay, now, so that means you were a victim. Well, maybe. How many times have you ever heard me in seminars refer to the phrase getting and protecting behaviors? You could listen to me for a year and not hear them. So that's how useful I find it. You can do it if you want to. No criticism of people who do it. It all goes right down to the root, fear and pain every time. Woman stood right here and she talked about something entirely different. And I said, honey, you just drip pain. And then she went from distant and actually pushing me away physically to not. I understood her, what she was really saying. Get it? She was doing a self-report, which was accurate. Yeah, but incomplete. Unfoundationed. See? Now we're putting it together now. That's all. Does that help you?
Yeah.
See, Bill, I can answer the damn question. So, Donna's gone. Do you think it's lunchtime?
I'm going to check.
Well, let's wait. Let's wait till she comes back, because you never know. They tell you noon, it's 12:30. They hadn't found the chicken yet. No.
I was just going to say what you talked about earlier with the woman in Africa who wanted to hug her child or the child wanted to be hugged when he was wet. I've done that a number of times to my sons, especially the stinky part, where they come to hug me and I'm like, "Ooh, you need to take a shower." And what I was thinking is that as a parent, I need to teach them about being clean and not being stinky. And now I just want to sit and crawl under a table. So of course, I do the excessive guilt thing, right? But I'm really feeling now how bad that feels, and how stupid I was. So.
I had a mother come from another country with her son, and her son was increasingly hating living, plus coincidentally her. And we got to the fact that she controlled everything he did. He was 14 years old. He was 6'5". And she was telling him what soap to use, when to bathe, when to brush his teeth, when to... I finally, midway through this, an hour into the second day, because I remember the time. And I said, baby, you got to let this go. And, by the way, the question was essentially the little dirty kid hugging the mom, and she says she's done that where she said ooh to a dirty kid. There, short version. And I said, you got to let it go or you're going to lose your son. You don't understand, this is a core value. So I named a handful of things. I said, I'm just guessing those are also core values. Yes. She was willing to be flexible about nothing. So she came to get help and was willing to receive none of it. Now this is after an entire day of just holding her. That's it. That's all he did for a day was hold her. She loved that part. Well, most people do. Then we got to applying it. So while you feel loved, what would it look like when you interact with your son? Screw him. Well, that wasn't the answer I was looking for. They went home. 1 hour into the second day. Because she was willing to be flexible on nothing. And she's going to lose that kid. It's a guarantee. And she'll complain. She'll blame me, too, which I'm good with. Ruined.
But the son got it.
But the son got it. And so part of me is going, because the kid has now eaten chocolate cake. And I've held this 6'5", 14-year-old kid, and he's going, I'm not sure I like shit anymore, Mom. She's going to have a harder time now. I didn't do it for that reason, but I told him, you can do whatever you want. If your mom tells you to brush your teeth, you choose. But look at me. You really don't have to. You know what it turned out? If he's left alone, she's out of town, he brushes his teeth every other day, as opposed to every day. I said, I hate teeth. My grandchildren show me a loose tooth, and I didn't mind brain surgery, bowel surgery, but not teeth. Open your mouth. He has a mouth full of white, perfect teeth. And I'm thinking, well, geez, honey. You have to pick what matters.
Speaking of teeth.
Any segue will do.
You're going to need yours because lunch is ready, and it's just out the door and across, like there. Thank you.
So the new website's up, but the new coaching site is not. So it will be. On the new coaching site, when people go to the free site, I'm going to what we call it is, you can call it whatever you want, free access site and the membership site. So free site, membership site, there. And on the free site, there are lots of little buttons where you can hit to go learn about the membership site. One of the buttons you see on a number of the pages, can you see me? Sorry.
The ones that left in the back are having problems.
Yeah, well, I don't care. I'll care again in a minute. I have to kind of vary from one seat to another, or it gets pretty painful. So, on the coaching site, if somebody says, yeah, I'd like to coach, then they get free 10 minutes with somebody, one of the coaches, who will be on the site because they ran their name by Donna. And now, as it is now, it's the old way. You can pick your coach. That's not going to be true in the future. So you're either good enough to coach or you ain't. Didn't mean to come out that way. Because it's not about being good enough. You're either competent enough in that particular thing to coach or you're not. It's not about being a good enough human being. Then you go on the coaches list. And the amount you're paid per hour is set. So like if you charge more than that per hour, not a problem. You're not on the list. Or you may want to be on the list for some clients because you decide that you'd like to expand your practice. I don't know. Do what you want. But the list of coaches, let's say there were 4, because that's how many fingers I have. They're not my thumb. And so the computer will, the first time somebody asks, send them coach 1, who gets a 10-minute trial with that person. They fit, they sign up that coach. They don't like that coach, they can do one more 10-minute trial. Inga's going to set this up, because otherwise you could do 10-minute trials till you're dead, right? And that's an easy thing. There are many free sites that once you've checked in their free material X times, they cut you off. So after two, they either get coached by the second coach or they don't coach. Whatever. But then it will rotate to the second coach and the third coach, and it will just keep rotating like that. Make sense? Makes it, oh my gosh, easier than putting up profiles and what you're like. And because what was it? 60% of women in the election years ago voted for John Kennedy because he was cute. Really? And see, then everybody would want me to coach them. Tyrone says, not really, no. Then we're working with, there were 2 co-founders of eHarmony. The guy that's always on the commercials has 3 names, Neil Clark something, and this other guy. And he's been in the online dating industry for 20 years, as long as it's existed. So he wants to start a dating site. He's been looking all over for years because he says all they do is lie. That's it. You put up your profile, and they claim to match you according to somebody else's profile. They actually try to do that for about 3 times, and they run out of candidates. And then they just keep, it's called predatory marketing. They just keep sending you names of people that they have on their list. And this is how, 30-year-old people get matched with people who are dead. So he found real love, and he studied it for 2 years before he called. And he said, we got to do this different. So we're going to teach people how to be a human being first. Imagine. What a thought. Because matching people according to their similar interests and assuming that they can have a relationship would be like matching people with blue shirts and assuming they could build a bridge. It's just stupid. So we're going to teach people how to be human beings, then how to be in a relationship, then they go looking for a partner on the site. According to demographics, if you're 20, you probably don't want to date a 70-year-old, although I find Gar particularly hot. And so when people fill out their profiles, it's not going to be the usual stuff. Do you like kayaking and marble collecting? It'll be, how did you screw up your last 2 relationships? And it'll be a check right next to your name. I've read the Real Love and Dating book, or I haven't. We're going to give it away free to everybody who joins the dating site. I want people to be ready. I'm not here to make money off people who don't have any interest in doing it differently. Free book. Now, you can lie. I read the book, and I didn't. And, man, you're going to stick out. What happened to your last 2 relationships? Well, she was a bitch. Yeah, well, anybody who's read the dating book is going to be going, and I'm going to be the next one. So that site's going to take a while because it's got to be programmed, and he's been doing it for years, but it still takes time. Programming always takes longer than you think. It just does. Just like learning real love always takes longer than you think, doesn't it? Raising a child takes longer than you think. Blah, blah, blah. Garmin says it'll take you 2 hours to get there. Yeah, well, if you're in a helicopter. That really felt good. All right, question. Now, let's do loving first. So, is it pretty obvious to you that the world suffers from a lack of unconditional love? Do we need to really prove that much? I've been all over the world. And people say, well, you're talking to the people who come to you in trouble. No. I talk to people all over the world at every kind of convention. You think I'm not watching when I'm in the airport? Think I'm not watching when I'm in a restaurant? Wherever? It's the same crap whether I'm here or in Beijing. Excuse me, Beijing. They talk like they're machine guns over there. That's why it sometimes sounds so harsh, is that each syllable has its own little... A man came to me recently and he said, the other day, just for fun, he said, I wrote down all the couples I know, and I counted about 200 couples. And he said, out of 200 couples, that's all right, thanks. Out of 200 couples, he didn't know a single one of them was happy. Peaceful, liked each other. I'm good. Oh, well, maybe not. That would have been dramatic. Yep. So it's pretty rare. How do you find it? Right here. Bhavani. Has anybody come and spent time with you? Yes. More than one? More than two? Wow. I'm done. We don't need to count. That's impressive. Because Bhavani's kind of a quiet guy. He could sit in a room for a week and you wouldn't notice he was there until the smell became. So some people need just a little more, and that's okay. That doesn't make you less. You get it? And then there are other people. There's a lady I talk to regularly who lives in Ireland. Any of you know her? And within a single minute, every single person in the airport knows her. And that's not better or worse. That's just her. So you get it yourself. First you have to find it. First you have to find people who give it to you. Then you have to believe it. It's always two steps, it seems like. An intellectual step, a not intellectual step, an emotional step. Going and looking for it and telling the truth is at least partly intellectual. But it takes some guts to do it. So that part's not. The believing it has nothing to do with intellect. Man, you just have to jump off a cliff naked. There's no halfway to do this. And the people here whose lives have changed, they jumped off the cliff naked. They just went. And then you don't have to keep deciding. So, yeah, well, shoot. I had names written down here. There we go. No. Yes. Karen. At the break, you said to me, I just want to tell people to what?
Say yes.
Just say yes. I don't ever say it that way. I really like that. Yes. You want to be held? Yes. You want to go to group? Yes. You want it? Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. What have you really got to lose? If you don't like it, you can always not say yes the next time. Shoot. But in a gathering like this, who's going to hurt you? It'd be kind of hard, actually, because other people would step in. Or you could say something, or it's about the safest place I know. No kidding. I'd rather be here than in church. Sorry. And there are people who would criticize me for that, let me tell you. There's more honesty here. There's more loving here. So, Darlene, what was it like for you?
What was that like for me?
You want me to actually make my question clear? Choosing to trust.
In the beginning, it was hard. It was very hard. Very scary, very frightening. But the way I was doing it, I was going to die. So I pushed through it. And I trust it now. I ask for it now, and my answer is yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Bring me more. Please. Let me join the cult.
Love my call.
Whatever. If this is a cult, okay. Fine. Yeah, it really is about yes. So you get filled up, and much like a cup, you hold a cup, paper cup, fill up the cup, and then keep filling it up. Don't stop. And if you keep filling it up, it just overflows. If you hold it steady, it actually overflows on all sides, and they make sculptures out of that. And then it overflows, and if you put a cup underneath it, How much effort does the cup underneath it have to exert to be filled up? None. How much effort does the cup above have to exert to fill it up? None. Just keep passing it on. You're just in the line, in the flow. Just let it happen. Dang it. You can tell when you're not, it's really not complicated. Somebody came up and said to me, your message is different than it's been before. Two things. You hold people more accountable, meaning this is your job to do. And it's simpler. How do you tell if your canoe is in the line? Because you're not dead. You're not wrapped around a rock. You're not spinning in a roller drowning. That's how you know. And your canoe is straight. That's how you know. My young kids, when we'd go scouting, am I doing it right? Are you upright? You're doing good, kid.
So it's not about getting somewhere. It's about walking the line.
You're never. When I was on that river, do you think I was ever aware of what bend of the river I was on? No. Where was the end? No. I was having the time of my life, even when I was being dumped out on my butt. That was a hoot. This is a hoot, even when you're being dumped out on your butt. So you just ride on your butt for a while, and then eventually you get to a place where you're not being banged against the rocks, and you have to swim a little ways because your canoe goes downstream way better than you do. And so you hope you can catch the canoe before the next set of rapids. And then, has anybody ever gotten into a open canoe as a single person? Also hard. It takes the skin off your entire belly doing it. Especially if you're dumb enough to go without a life jacket, which was point number 2 the kayakers were about to make. He's low. So once you feel loved, you've got a place, for the first time in your life, you've got a place to go to. We never had a place to go to. That's what home is. So we spend our whole lives in fear running from. Protecting. From. Get it? From, no. Where do you want to go? We never had a place. Now you do. Entropy is a principle in physics. Pretty much says all matter and energy naturally, without an external influence, disorganize, become less organized. You want to see entropy? Stack marbles at the end of a shoebox, shake up the shoebox. They never end up better stacked. They disorganize. And so do humans. We fall down without some sort of organizing principle. That's what we do. Well, now you don't have to. Now you have love to go to. Now, falling's no big deal. Falling was awful before, because what's followed by a fall? The next fall. And the next fall. And that's a drag after a while, don't you think? I mean, ask Jacqueline. You know, just fall. And after a while, your face just gets disfigured, you know? Ask Dale. There's some people that are just too easy. Now we got something to go to. Organize. Love's the only thing I know that organizes things. It builds. It's very cool to be in that flow. I wish I could read that. I really do. Somebody said it to me. I'll write better next time. So, anybody here know Joy? Where'd she go? Raise your hand. There she is. Joy's over here. That was a very ambiguous question. Raise your hand if you know Joy, or raise your hand if you're Joy. And I looked out and went, everybody's name is Joy. So it was either 3 or 4 years ago. 4? 4, she would know. Where we had a conference here in Phoenix, different hotel. Because I remember the ceiling was real short. Remember that? And she came up in front of everybody, and I don't remember what I asked her. Something. Is anybody familiar with the painter Edvard Munch? Norwegian. He's noted for one painting. Well, he did a lot of paintings, but many artists become known for one. You know, Leonardo, Mona Lisa. Yeah, well, like he only did that. But he's known for a series of paintings that are very similar, but they call them all kind of collectively Scream. And the mouth is really exaggerated. The background is kind of follows the shape of the head and the mouth. And the character depicted has their mouth open to about there. Like, whoa. And it's black. No teeth. And it's just the look on the eyes just is horror. It's as though you can see the Holocaust in one face. Scary painting. You don't study it before you go to bed. It's worth looking up, though. Because when Joy came up here, she did the scream. No sound. Just for a long time. I don't know how long. Long enough that people are going, let me out. And now she comes up and she just plops herself down on my lap, even though I said, and tells me stories about how she's loving her daughter and, you know, and just letting stuff go, and how her ex-husband shows up at the wedding, and that would not have gone well. She didn't care. Because she's peaceful, because she feels it, because she decided to trust. Sitting on somebody's lap wouldn't have been Joy's first move. But she did. That's guts. That's real courage. Because I've interviewed medal winners in the military and firemen who've gotten honored, and they say, that's mostly reflexive. There's a whole book called Heroes by Junger. Hans? No, it's a German name. What? Sebastian Junger. Ooh. He wrote one on mountain climbing, one on war, was what it was called, not heroes. I make shit up. And he interviewed these guys. And they don't go out and do brave things because they're brave. They're scared spitless. In fact, the most common motivation for somebody to go from behind a protective barrier, that'd be my vote, to go get a buddy is fear. Fear that if they don't, their entire platoon will forever label them as a coward. I'm not kidding. Who knew? They're scared to death. That's why later it looks like false modesty. Oh, I wasn't brave. He's not joking. He wasn't. He was scared. So telling the truth when you're not under fire, choosing to be vulnerable, saying, yes, I will, that's brave. And that's what these guys have told me. Way harder to tell the truth about myself and be open, vulnerable, be held, hugged. Where's Robert? There he is. How old are you, Robert? 68. Robert comes up. He's a big hulk of a guy. Woof. I can tell when I have to go, lean up to talk to him. Big hulk of a guy just sits down, and we just cuddled for whatever. It was a riot. Big man's man, baby. And he comes from a family of men's men, right? And yet, that's the first time he's ever cuddled like that. They hug in his family, but we don't cuddle. Everybody wants to be cuddled. Hugging's great, but it kind of has a defined pattern. You know, especially guys, good to see you. We got to make this very manly. You have to break a minimum of 1, maximum of 2 ribs with this. That's a manly hug. And it only lasts for X seconds. And baby, I ain't making fun of it. It's touching. We're making contact. Guy scores a touchdown, and his teammates pat him on the ass. Otherwise, not acceptable. You don't ever see guys just reach over and go. So, Nina, you were talking about how do you see a question? The real question. So, lady comes up, sitting in my lap, crying. She really hasn't asked a question. But she's tearful. Her face is rigid. Just, if she didn't want to do something about that, she wouldn't be up here. So what's the question? What do I do about this? The question is, what do I do about my pain? There, she's asked you the question, and she didn't say any words. Poof. See? And she held her mouth like this. I call it, you can crack walnuts with those babies. So, sometimes I'll actually have people reach up and touch my lips. Not very often, but what does that feel like? They have no idea. They're scared to death. They think it's some sort of cult thing. You know. Gummy worms. Now, let me touch your lips. That's called concrete. So, let go. And when she let go, then she was able to say, well, but I have an overbite. She's really ashamed of her teeth. She's actually ashamed of herself. So I said, honey, I love your teeth. And then what did she immediately do? What do you think?
Cried.
Huh? Cried, yes, actually racking sobs, and hid her face. She wants to hear it, but she's still ashamed of herself. Okay? So what's her question? She's still asking you a question. Do you really love me with my teeth and my defective moral character? Just keep at it. Love your teeth. Love you. You deserve to be loved. That's her bottom line question, by the way. Do I really deserve to be loved? Because I'm ashamed. As soon as somebody talks, like, yeah, they're ashamed. You have a question, go.
Yeah, I have a comment and another question. So it's like that baby book that you just recommended to me. Like, you look at the whole picture, not just listening. I get it.
Hang on, let me try to say that so people can hear it, and then you do the question. Although a comment and a question is stretching it a little bit. So she says she has a new baby. 4 months old. This is worth telling a story, by the way. We won't tell the whole thing. But, you know, she was less than emotionally stable when I first met her. I don't know if you've ever heard me tell this story, but I'm going to tell just a little teeny bit of it. And remember to get back to the baby part. But she had multiple issues. That's kind. Had failed everything. You know, treatment, blah, blah, blah. Came down. Her parents actually called me and said, fix this bitch. And I said, it's possible, theoretically, you might have a role in this. Because they were going to UPS her down. So they all came down, and she sat. I'll never forget this. It was so cool. She plopped. The perfect word is flounced. Do you know the word? She flounced onto my couch. A flounce is kind of an expansive bounce. Boom. Dramatic. And she crossed her hands over her chest, just like this. And she said, I don't have to do shit. Well, she was drugged down behind the car by her parents, so... And many of you have been there, so I just sat there in my rocking chair, and I said, nope, you don't. Now, if she has a different story from this, I don't care. And after a while I said, you don't. But I know something you don't. And then I just waited. Of course, now she's screwed. See? She's going, okay, what? And I'm going, I know how to be happy. You don't. Well, then what do you want me to do? I don't want you to do anything. But it was easy after that. She just needed to know I wasn't trying to change her. Now she's married well. Married a guy who is just as emotionally not facile as herself, incapable. And he's become a loving father to their 4-month-old, loving husband. Oh yeah, they're still working things out, but whatever. It's just a beautiful thing to see. Jeez. You ever wonder how that happened? Call her. She'll tell you. But don't let her retell this story. Because it will be a lie. Now this all started, the parenthesis, because... The baby whisperer. And so she has a 4-month-old, and she's calling me and going, my baby's crying. And I'm going, yeah, no shit. Just buck up. I mean... And then it was my daughter who tells me, oh, well, you have to get this book. There's a book called The Baby Whisperer. What? There's now a whisperer about everything. Horse whisperers, dog whisperers, shoe whisperers. Everything whispers, it turns out. And then there's another book called The Dunstan Something. Dunston. Just Google Dunstan baby, and it'll come up somehow. Between the two, it tells you what babies are saying when they cry. Why didn't people tell me this? It turns out that if a baby's hungry, they cry with a certain sound. No kidding. And I'm listening to this with my newborn grandchild and going, I can hear it. And just when I had the pattern all nailed, the baby cried a certain way, and I went, that's that. And my daughter said, no, sometimes they're mixed. Then screw them, let them cry. Talk in English. But you have to pay attention to the whole thing. They move in a certain way, they cry in a certain way, they cry with a certain tone. They cry in groups of 3 cries mean this. You're joking. Then the Dunstan people come along with a DVD, and they show you different babies, to make it harder, of different personality types. I think a crying baby is just annoying. That's what that's called. And it tells you how to respond to these different kids. Oh my gosh. Suddenly, they make sense. I didn't know. But somebody figured it out. You know that lady, I can never remember her name, who is the cow whisperer. Temple Grandin. Of course, they don't realize that when she whispers to them, she's taking them to the slaughter. But she's very kind to cows. She pays attention to what their moos mean. And people laughed at her. Oh, if you haven't seen the movie, Temple Grandin. Makes me cry. Amazing. Temple, like the structure, Grandin. And she learned what cows meant, why they move in a certain way, why they moo in a certain way, why they moo and move. And designed structures to get them to move. Wow, freaky, because she paid attention. So did this Dunstan lady and the baby whisperer. Well, so do people. They're telling you what they want and who they are and what their pains are all day long. No kidding. Every time somebody speaks, they're not telling you about you. That's what we get distracted about. Somebody says, you did this. You hurt my feeling. You. And understandably, we're distracted by the word you. Because that seems to be the subject of the sentence, right? You, followed by a verb, you is the subject. Wrong. Grammar is not the same as human beings. No, the subject is me, always, pretty much. Unless I say, I want 3 2-befores. Well, I really do. So I don't really give a crap what you're doing. Give me the damn 2-befores. Keep going.
I can ask my question.
Yes, dear.
So, I mean, you told me a lot of times a while ago that I had no idea how much pain I was in. And now that I'm starting to get that and, like, generalize that, when I'm taking calls from someone, I'm, like, sometimes completely afraid of saying what needs to be said because I'm so aware of that and I don't want to add to anyone's pain. How do you do
That is simultaneously very compassionate of her and cowardly. So somebody's already in pain who wants to make it worse. You know why? Because we're thinking, when I'm in pain, do I want it worse? No, I don't. When I go to PT and my knee hurts and the lady says, tell me when it's where you can't stand it anymore. Well, I don't tell people I can't stand it anymore till, they have a pain scale of 1 to 10. I'm at 10. And then she goes, so I'm going to push on it just a little bit more. The hell you say, honey. But see, she's used to people who say it's intolerable at a 6. So she pushes them. No, now I'm screaming. And possibly striking her. So we're afraid to add additional pain. There isn't another way. The pain that people are in is unending. Get it? You're introducing a different kind of pain that gets them through to the other side. So my knees were just hurting more and more and more and more. Well, there's going to be no end to that. And finally, one day I went to take a step, and I'd been doing bone on bone for months. But finally, turns out they create a groove. And what happened is, they do this. If you really go long enough, which apparently I was unusual, I did. He went, damn, didn't that kind of hurt? Yeah, it really kind of did. Now, instead of going like this in the grooves, it goes like this and goes. I cried out in pain and immediately made an appointment because I couldn't move at all. So I could have kept going like that because I could still walk like a crab, kind of like. Or I could go in and knowingly submit myself to more pain than that. The pain after the surgery was way worse than locking up. But it's good pain. Make sense? That's what you do when you tell people the truth. Yeah? How many people here have not hated me at some point? You know? Do you see why he's such an easy target? Dale goes, hit me. Yeah.
When people are trying somebody is telling me why I'm in pain, and I think that's just making it worse. No, it is not. If it's done well, it is not intended to make it worse. So it's not always about how do you deal with other people who are in pain, but when you're making it real uphill because you're in pain, and it seems like this is making it worse. Just hearing the truth about you is making it worse. That's a short-lived to get it over with pain.
Get it? See how important this is to get the difference? You're not hurting them. You're exposing them to a new way of living, which hurts. See the difference? So, I posted this a week ago as a blog. So, of course, you've all read it. Okay, who hasn't read my blog? I would take Boy Scouts on trips all the time. The more dangerous, the better, because it builds their confidence. And one of the things I would do is rappelling. And what the boys didn't know, good thing, is that before I would take them rappelling off a 200-foot cliff, I'd go find a mountain climber and teach me how to rappel 2 days before. And so he would take me off a 100-foot building and show me how to tie the rope, show me how to... And it's very meticulous. There's a way. You thread the rope through the figure eight like this. Then you hook it up to the... Then you make a harness this way, and you put the carabiner through that, and then you snap it to the figure eight. There's a way. Guess what? Not one time, even though I thought I was a pretty smart guy, not one time during when he was giving me instructions did I go, well, now, what about if we... Oh, no. Because he's been to the Himalayas. He's been climbing. And I'm going to doubt him? You're kidding. So he said, this way, not all making sense to me. I don't care. Because what's the bottom line? He's been climbing, and I haven't. That's what Vina finally decided. Well, he knows how to be happy, and I don't. She just decided to go with that. Okay? So I'm backing off the cliff. I stumble. It's very easy to do because it's not like intuitive to go backwards off a 100-foot building, you know, with your feet against the surface and your butt sticking out in the air. Not natural. And so I slip because the surface is really flat. And then what happens is you straighten out and the wall hits your face like that, which I didn't find pleasant. And in that moment, I didn't quit trusting the person who was teaching me. Or I would have just let go and fallen. No, I trusted him more. Are you hearing this? You trust the person who's helping you more because they've been, you haven't. What do I do? I said to him, and he told me what to do. We recovered, we resumed. He gave me an instruction, which, in retrospect, he gave unclearly, like when I said, so how many people know Joy after, anyway, and you're all raising your hands because you thought you were Joy for a minute. Because I asked the question unclearly. He gave me an unclear instruction. I did what I thought I heard him say and fell again. Well, I could very easily have said, damn you, I'm not going to trust you, you hurt me. See? Just like you just said, you hurt me. Nope, I didn't get it. I'm hanging off a rope 100 feet in the air. Would you please continue your instruction? And he did. I didn't mention to him that it was unclear. Are you kidding me? At 100 feet? Mm-mm. Well, just go away. I'm so mad at you. And I did what he said. Zip. Boom. All the way to the bottom. Trust him all the way. All the way. Saved me. And I would do the same thing with the boys. Just trust me. Just do it. Just do this step by step. Every trip, there would be 1 or 2 boys, because I had 30, who would try it their way. I loved those moments. Because then they would slip, fall, smack their faces against the rock, be bleeding, crying. We had a couple of them pee their pants. That's my favorite. And then calling my name. And of course, I'm up at the top going, let them experience the consequences of not listening for a minute. They don't know because they can't see it. I have a second rope already strung over to the side. And then I just go zipping down and go, man, you got a problem. And then they ask for help. Glad to help them. Then the next time they go, they're good. But do you know that even the kids who screw it up on their way down, the ones that I have to go and help and instruct, when they get to the bottom of the 200-foot cliff, you know what they do? Every one of them. Every time. Yeah. They just feel so cool. And no other boy ever goes, did you pee your pants? Nope, because they all been there. Cool, huh? All trusting, all the way down. And when we don't, we screw up. Trusting flawed people to love you is better than not trusting anybody at all. Always.
Will you please take my son rock climbing?
Everybody should go rappelling. No kidding. Teaches you to trust. It's just grand. So let's say you tell the truth about yourself and somebody's trying to fix you. And like a partner. And you would prefer that didn't continue. What do? You can stop it anytime you want. We feel like we're stuck. So I talked to a lady here today who was talking about how she's going out on a date tonight with a guy who's positive he's going to get laid. And her pattern has been that he will. And she's going, what if I don't want to? This is a genuine question on her part. Well, what if I don't want to? Because she's never had a choice before. I'm not joking. Which would come from not feeling like you were a worthwhile human being. Yes? Somebody tells you what you got to do, so you just do it. And after all, he will have spent a lot of money, he will have come a long way, and whatever. Because it's the gibbous phase of the moon. That's a real word. No, you don't. Well, what do I say? You say, I would like to sit in the hotel lobby, because there are lots of people around, and hold hands and talk. No. I can say that? Yeah. You can. This is the first time she's met him. Yeah, you can. But she's never had the words to say that. It's not the words, though. Remember, it's always a two-part thing. She's never had the words, and she's never had the guts to do it, because she never felt loved enough. Yeah, I'm just going to hold hands. Well, I came all this way. What's the answer to that? Could. But I'm just telling, keep it simpler. What did she already say? I want to sit in the lobby and hold hands and talk. So what does she say when he says, I've come a long way? I want to sit in the lobby and hold hands and talk. And then he says, blah, 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 blah. And she says, I want to sit. You don't vary the conversation. Keep restating your decision. Because as soon as you explain your decision, you're dead. Because they'll have a better one. Never explain yourself to anybody. I don't. I won't do it. Yes? No. There. Can you come? No. Do you have time to? No. Yes? That's it. That's all you get. If I'd wanted to explain it more, I would have. And now she's like bubbling, going, I could say, no. You really can. And if that doesn't work and the pressure becomes too much, you have my cell phone, and you can pick it up and say, hang on just a second, let me consult with my daddy. That's like a cold shower. Or, here, talk to my daddy. You know? Not romantic. And you can do that in any kind of relationship at any time at all. Donna has lately taken to a behavior. If she's trying to figure something out, I don't know, looking around the room for the charger. And I go to make a suggestion. Well, I barely get well out. And she goes, psst. Look how much time and effort that saves. My sweetie has just told me, what'd she just say? I don't need help with this. Please shut your mouth. Very nicely. I am thrilled to hear this. Do you get it? Thrilled, because she's being her. She does not want help. Well, if I didn't know that, I would keep talking. And it would become increasingly annoying to her. Why would I want to intentionally annoy her? Get up in the morning, how could I annoy her?
The shower.
I could leave the shower thing turned over. No, you get to say what you want. And when your partner says what she wants or he wants, then damn it, be grateful. Not annoyed. They're being themselves. I promise you wouldn't want to be married to you. And every single time there's been a conflict in my relationship with Donna, it's been a while, at least a day since the shower incident. Every time there's a conflict, it's because I've tried to make her, in some way, more like me. Why don't you, we'll finish the sentence, do it my way? Because I'm not you. That's the answer.
I was just going to say what you were telling that lady to say, just to repeat, this is what I want. I've started doing that. I've been learning and catching on with my 20 and 23-year-old sons who live with me. When I ask them to do something and they go, why, but, I just repeat it. And it almost feels like magic. It's like too good to be true. If I stay, and the important part here is not angry, just loving, just say it twice, 3 times, and like by magic, they go off and do it. It's like, wow, why didn't I learn that 10 years ago? 20.
Because when your kids go, but, they're saying, I'm going to go out this door, as opposed to the one that you've described for me. And if you answer it, you just created the door. You just made it. What an idiot. No, here's what I need you to do. So you can do it, or you can live with the consequences of not doing it, which I will also choose. It's very calm. Vina, dear? No.
When do you correct, or not correct, but when do you talk to a partner about something that they're doing, in the moment, and when do you wait?
Rarely is it effective to talk to a partner about a behavior that they're using in the moment. Because if they are doing something that is not loving, right? They're nuts. So if you're going to point it out to them, you're trying to talk to a drunk. It rarely works. Now, with practice, with enough practice, so that the both of you know that you love each other, then Donna can go, psst, which I think is nicer than then I know what that means, and I'm just thrilled with it, really. but you need practice with that. And so you go, I'll be back in a minute. Or you just let the behavior burn out. It will. If you don't respond to it, people burn out fast. Don't they, Chuck? They just quit. Then you go away, and then the next day you bring it up. But if your partner did that just once out of 10 times, shut up. It's not worth it. If they do it 2 or 3 times in a row, or it's a pattern, then you really do have to talk about it. Not just for you. In fact, if it is for you, it's not going to come across well. You say, so here's an example of some verbiage. You can do it in whatever way you want to. But my tone matters a lot. Well, actually, everything. So, make up a name. Oliver. Which is her husband's name. So, Oliver, the last several times that you have played video games and I've tried to talk to you, you just weren't there, which I get. They're mesmerizing. They involve all your senses and your brain and everything. I get it. We had an agreement that if you were playing video games other than in a prescribed time that we talked about, like I know you're going to play them from 2 to 3. I know that. So if it's 3:30, we'd agreed that you would just stop the game, pause, be killed, whatever the game is, lose the level. And I've just noticed that when you're doing that, there's a lack of connection with us, and you don't look as happy either. Just saying.
So, like, if it's something that does need to be corrected in the moment, you still...
Oh, yeah. If it really does. Like, for example, I tend to do way more dangerous things with my grandchildren than my children do. Because I don't really care. They're not mine. They're 7 more. It's odd that my children don't remember. I did exactly the same thing with them. But, hey, they're their kids. So I'll be swinging a kid, who's 6 months old in the tire swing. And my son will come out and go, ah! He gets to do that. That's something that needs to be corrected in the moment by his standards. And since it's his kid, he gets to say that. So over time, I've actually learned to ask them. Or I say to the grandkids, I tell them, now secrets are bad except for... Go ahead.
But with a partner, if it's something that does need to be corrected in the moment.
Example.
Still, paying attention. So I talk about it beforehand.
Yes.
Separate time, and then we come up with something like the Donna thing that's short and quick.
Yes. You talk about it beforehand. Then if he keeps doing it, you talk about it later, like the next day. Then if he keeps doing it, okay, this ain't working. So the bottom line is, if it ain't working, I don't mean once, if it ain't working, okay, then we need to come up with something. So, Oliver, it's not working. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying it's not working. So, I have a claw hammer, whatever, a sound. You reach over and hit pause. Really, whatever. Donna will come into the room. She doesn't do this very often, but she'll come into the room, reach over. I'm ashamed to... No, I'm not. Or I would do it differently. The remote lives on my side. By its choice. Because I've asked. But she'll come over and just go, pause. What is there that I'm watching that really has to finish? Nothing. I must admit I like the whole pause thing. Then she tells me what she needs to say, and she might hit play or not. That's up to me. But she will hit pause. You have to kind of agree to that, which I didn't, but I adjusted to. Make sense? Whatever. You keep going and you do what works. Darn it. As opposed to being irritated at each other, which, have you ever seen that work? It doesn't work for me. I've never seen it work for anybody. So it's just an idea. Don't. Good. Thanks for your questions. Dang it. Somebody explain this to me. Mike, June. I got to quit this. Annoying. Anybody? Yes, dear. Incremental inspiration. So let's assume that there is a source of knowledge and love. How am I doing? A source of knowledge and love bigger than ourselves.
DNA.
What? Whatever. A greater source. That's good enough. I don't care if you call it genes. I don't care what you call it. I've learned this. And this has been one of the biggest revelations, if you like, of my last couple of years. Because I've heard people say, well-meaning, that you just ask and the heavens will be opened and you'll get your answer. Nope. Doesn't work like that. Never seen that happen. I had a minister tell me that one day. You just ask and you'll get whatever you ask for. And I said, really? So I'll tell you what. Why don't, in 5 minutes, when the meeting starts, instead of me playing the organ, you play the organ. Just pray for it. He said, well, that's different. Oh, there are exceptions to this rule. No, it's always incremental. So you take a step of, take your pick. It's usually a combination of preparation and trust. Does that make sense? You do some thinking, you do some work, you do some trusting. I don't care what you call it. Preparation, trust, blah, blah, blah. Then, I'll be darned. If you're open and don't resist, you'll discover you went farther than you would have gone by yourself. Incremental inspiration. Then you do a little more trusting and work and preparation and getting it? I am not defining the size of the steps. And that's how it goes. It's really fairly predictable. I used to feel bad that I couldn't just learn it all. Nah, not possible. It takes time. Not just time. Time doesn't do spit. In fact, with time, what factor enters in? Entropy and fear. Things just fall apart with time. Really. Time heals all wounds. Are you stupid? I mean, I've held several people here today who had 55 years elapse. Time didn't heal a damn thing. Not one thing. In fact, it festers worse, and by the time it comes up, we're into racking sobs or complete paralysis. Whatever. But time plus trust plus preparation, oh yeah, that'll do something. All right. Yep. That'll get you pretty much anywhere. Make sense now? Yep.
I notice when I trust the 5 principles, or that you love me, God loves me, I'm never alone, nothing but fear. And I'm grateful for that. I can stay filled up, and then everything around me, I can respond out of love, which is all that I need.
Yep.
Because
it's not a trick, those 5 truths.
But is that enough? Because it's like
Almost. That's the first 5 truths. So the next one is, I don't ever mess with the 6th one because people realize it eventually. And then you share what you got with everybody else.
Because it really doesn't matter what they're doing.
Nope, never did. Crazy. It never mattered. Joy just spent time with her ex-husband, and turns out he has not had epiphanies. He is not more loving. I have a wonderful relationship with my dad. He doesn't study real love online. Secretly. No, it never mattered. It was always me remembering or forgetting. And so now you see that you have all the power in the world.
In a sense, it's kind of scary because it's like they're total different. It's like flipping my point of view, my perspective to a whole different thing where it doesn't, it feels right, but it doesn't look right.
It is simultaneously really scary because it's unfamiliar. Everybody around you is blaming, so they must be right. If 10 million flies are eating shit, how could it be wrong? Right? But there's an old saying that goes with that. No matter how many times a horsefly bites a horse, the fly is still a fly. The horse is still a horse. So just because they're eating shit doesn't make it right for you. So I don't have to do that. But literally everybody around you is. I choose not to. And I discovered it's a happier choice. It doesn't make me superior to anybody. I don't feel superior to anybody because, frankly, the more you see, the better you see what flaws remain. And you get humbler because it's like kind of embarrassing. If you were to all know all the thoughts that I've had in my head in the last 3 months, I'd have to slink off. I just don't indulge them. No, still lots to learn. Mm-hmm. I was hoping it just slid by. If you all knew all the thoughts I've had in just the last 3 months, I would have to slink off in shame because they would look so horrifyingly incongruous with what I'm saying. They are.
But you just don't have them.
I just don't indulge them. I don't feed them. I don't stay in them.
Because you know they're lies.
Because I know they're lies. They're crap. They don't work. Not because they're bad or I shouldn't. That's never stopped me before. You know, I'm never, ever. That was my last injection of narcotics. That's it. For 4 hours. Nope, should never did it. It just doesn't work. And it's not true. I have a very active mind and creative. And so when I start to think bad thoughts, I can go into the sewer, whoop, just like that, and do all the dots. Zoop. Ask Donna. But I can't stay there. Been there before. It never worked. Ever. Well, sometimes I stay there for a little while. Just to see what she'll do. It's like she's just ignoring me now. She's learned to say that when she's missed the last 8 sentences. I heard you. I got it. And I'll say, well, so repeat it back to me. I'm not going to dignify that with a response. So, yes, dear.
Yeah, what about chemical imbalance and depression?
What about chemical imbalance and depression? So, do I believe that there are genuine chemical imbalances in the brain? Duh. Sure I do. And it's also been demonstrated that when people are stressed in certain ways, like PTSD, which everybody in this room suffers from. When people are stressed in PTSD, it changes the chemistry. We're not done. It changes the shape of some parts of the brain, changes how big they are. So it changes the morphology, the organics of your brain, and the production of chemicals. So it's been my experience now over 20 years to watch people who are on antidepressants, for example, just one example, and to feel unconditionally loved. Whoa, the vast majority of people who keep it up and feel loved stop their antidepressants, and they're happier afterward. They always go through an adjustment, and they're happier afterward, and I don't tell them to stop. Make sense? I see people with schizophrenia, I see autistics, kids who are labeled as autistics as little kids, and once the parents learn to quit being assholes, then it turns out it wasn't autism, it was assholism. I mean, certified, tested autistics, all the usual stuff in special schools, and you teach the parents how to love their kid. And I'm just thinking of one off the top of my head in the last year. One, she's 12 now, been an autistic for 5 years, something. Special schools, she goes to a regular school, gets A's and B's, and is happy. Because the mother didn't know what to do. Children are geniuses. Geniuses. They're way smarter than you think. And so if they do some behavior, and here's all they need from you. We say, well, I didn't give in. All you had to do is this. Can you see that from back there? All you have to do is move a brow. That's it. They win. And they know it. Children are better at facial recognition than any facial recognition software program there is. You wrinkle your brow and they go, okay, I win, you lose, I'm going to keep doing that. And their behaviors turn into, call it whatever you want, attention deficit, hyperactivity. Look at all the symptoms of ADD, HD, PQ, R. Look at the symptoms, and then take the symptoms of somebody who's simply in pain. They're the same. Really. How well do you pay attention when somebody's got your thumb in a thumb screw? Not so well, I'll be darned. Goes from subject to subject. Pain. Yeah.
How do you explain when a family has more than one child, or more than one child is in the state of years of testing?
Easy. So what do you do when in a given family, one child has the hyper whatever syndrome, and the other child doesn't? People say, well, they were raised in the same family. Bullshit. Bullshit. Because each child learns to occupy a role. So the first kid learns to be the hyperachiever, angry, whatever it is. The next child tries to do dominant, controlling hyperachiever with the kid who's 3 years older. He's 1, the other kid is 4. Not a chance in hell does that kid have. So that kid picks something else. Pleaser, entertaining, whatever. No, every child is raised in their own world. They've shown in atmospheric biology that within, like, the jungle, there are 20, 30 different little biospheres. Little places that are completely separate from all the others, have a different temperature, different moisture, different everything. Same is true in your family. My brother and I were raised in the same household, and whoa, the assholism expressed itself differently. So we're going to take 15 minutes, or whatever. Now we'll say 15 minutes, and that means 5 after 3. That'll make more sense to you in a minute. Right now, we don't care. So, somebody asked me, how do you do this, I assume this, without, because there's a lot of pain in the world, yeah? There's a lot of pain in this room. How do you do this without getting all the shit on you? In the beginning, it can be pretty confusing because one person's pain is overwhelming. Pretty obvious, it's overwhelming to them. And if you feel it all at once, whoa, it just blow you away. So, my self-chosen responsibility is to love you, whoever's in front of me, not all at one time. Some of you may have noticed that if you are right in front of me, I tend to not back away. I'm right in your face. And I'm paying attention to you. Not looking at my watch, not wondering about how the rest of the room is doing, often not paying attention to the length of the break, which makes me go over time. It's you. The whole world in that moment is you. Boy, I'm not pretending. Anybody ever had that experience with me? It's you. So the first thing is, how do you not get overwhelmed? You don't have any other feedback. There's no other information distracting you. I'm focused not on the entire room, although in this case I'm kind of am. You focus on who's right in front of you. And then my responsibility is to love you as well as I can in that moment. Not as well as you need, because I may not have everything you need, well as I can. That's it. I'm not responsible for making you happy. That's beyond me. I don't even know how to do that. I don't care to take that responsibility. So if I fail, if you're not happy, I don't consider it a failure. I loved you as well as I could. Can I love you more than I can? No. There's nothing past can't. I get that all the time. Can you this? No, I can't. But, there's not a but after can't. We're done. I give you all I got. And if you're not happy, okay. And if you are happy, I don't get credit for that either. So suddenly, I'm not the king of the universe. See? So it doesn't hurt me. It doesn't stick to me. But I still care. Do you see? I care about you a lot. I'm just not responsible for you. I'm responsible for how I treat you. Do you get the difference? This isn't some little wordplay. This isn't a philosophical game I'm playing here. Nope. My responsibility to love you is huge. Really big. Well, who knows? Yeah. Hey, honey.
Yeah.
You can stay right where you are.
Okay.
I'll come to you. In fact, can you help her with that part? How do you feel?
Like $1,000,000. I don't know. I'm just crying. That's what I do.
You feel like $1,000,000. So, are you angry?
Yeah, mad at my mom. Yeah.
So you don't quite feel like $1,000,000.
No, I don't.
So maybe $1.50.
Maybe 50 cents. Yeah.
So you're mad at your mother that she wet.
That she didn't love me.
Okay? So why didn't she?
She was empty.
She couldn't.
She couldn't.
Pretty much the last sentence I said was, after the word can't, there is no but. She couldn't. Done. And yet, for how many years have you wondered, why couldn't she love you?
My whole life.
Are you done? She couldn't.
Okay.
Couldn't, period, and we don't care why.
Okay.
We don't care. You know why we don't? Because it all starts right now. What's happening right now?
I'm being loved.
Here,
Yes.
I'm being loved. I can't do a damn thing about her past. Her mother not loving her, her being, strapped to a bed and whipped, shoved in a closet, beaten, sexually abused. It doesn't matter, really. I don't even care what her mother did. Do you hear me? I'm not really that interested in her history. What am I interested in? Her, now. That's all I got. All I have is now. It's all she has is now. So what are we doing pissing around in the past? Can't do anything about it. She's in pain. Let's talk about the past. Oh, I'd be happy to do that with you for a little bit, and you can have a fit and break bottles for 30 minutes. But then, now what? Now we're back to here. Now. She's getting loved. Now. What's going to heal the wounds from the past? This. Now. Notice, I'm not even involved. So none of this has anything to do with me. So, did any of that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense, but it doesn't stop the tears and the pain.
So, if you understand, if you trust, actually, what Melanie's doing, yes, it will. So, you're in the middle of a banquet, being served every food you've ever liked, and instead of eating, you're saying, when I was 3, I didn't get cake. That's what you're doing. I don't mind. But boy, it's killing you.
Okay.
So, what's happening right now?
I don't know.
So, it's okay. Right now. So, say it after me. You ready?
Right now.
Melanie
Melanie
is loving me.
is loving me.
Really?
I feel it.
Actually, you're supposed to say really.
Really.
She's not pretending.
She's not pretending.
It's not a game.
Not a game.
She really loves me.
She really loves me.
Melanie is my mother.
Melanie is my mommy.
Really?
Really.
So you stay here for a few minutes till you're done. Till you're done.
Okay.
Or until you think she's done. How's that?
Okay.
I'm going to give you an extra. So there were a bunch of lessons right there. Anybody get any of them? Dear, the other Suzanne, speak.
Can you explain why that's so scary? Because you scared the shit out of me.
And that scares the shit out of me. And Cheryl, I know and love and have been with for 8 years now, so that being that close to her even so scary.
Yeah, because if you get really close to me, actually I already see you, but you don't know that. So crazily, we actually form an association between physical distance and being seen. So the closer you get to me, the more I'll see you. And then I'll finally confirm to the whole world, oh damn, she really is stupid and worthless. It's one thing to just sit back and not let people see you, but I tend to see people pretty thoroughly, and I tend not to hold back what I see. Why? For your benefit. I have no need to tell anybody what I see. Really? Don and I are driving somewhere and people are acting badly, and I don't ever turn to her and go, wow, look at those behaviors. So why is being held so scary? Because when you're held that close, then it's like you're two. You're fairly defenseless. If I'm holding you this close, there isn't much you can do about it. I can keep you there. I can bite your ear off. But do you see that? I wouldn't. But see, you don't know that. When have we ever gotten that close to anybody? Have you? Till I started doing this, I was never that close to a soul on earth. So that's scary because it's unfamiliar. And I'm going to get seen. And what if what this person tells me is past my capacity to hear? Does that make sense? I'm scary to more people than most people. That was complicated. I scare a lot of people because I'm big. Physically big, emotionally big. Big. I'm not real shy. And yet, oddly, people who know me know that I can sit at home and say nothing to anybody for days. I have no need to be heard. But you all traveled from wherever. Wales, Hawaii, blah, all over the... So I'd speak. And so I am. Otherwise, I don't care. I'm good, I'm happy. But I'm bold, and so that scares people. Because for most of us, bold equates with injury. Somebody's going to boldly roll over us. Who's ever boldly loved us? Those words don't even go together, does it? Brashly loved you. No. Intrusively cared about you. No, it doesn't make sense. And yet I do that every day. People put up a wall and I just come along with my... Has anybody here ever swung a 20-pound sledge? There isn't much you can't break with a 20-pound sledge. And I just go right through the wall and hold you. Only because it helps you. I'm good with the wall. Is that making more sense? So it would benefit you to be held like that, if you want. I'm not going to come back and make you. Although I did take the poor soul over here who wouldn't let me kiss her on the neck and drug her up on that. But I didn't kiss her neck, did I? No. She said, no neck kissing. Okay, so I snuck over and kissed her forehead instead. So what else you learn from this? Yep. Oh, hang on one second. What?
The pain isn't relevant. The pain that she's feeling is the other person doesn't have to tap into that pain. It's just loving.
They only need to see it. They don't even need to know the origin of it. It's all about the pain. So it's relevant to that degree. But then after you've seen it, who cares? I worked in emergency rooms for 6 years. So somebody comes in and they've been shot with a shotgun, or they've cut their hand off with the table saw, or whatever. How long does it take me to go, no hand, table saw? That long. And then you get busy doing something about it. See? She's doing something about it. She's addressing the root pain. Well, but my mother didn't, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter what her mother did or did not do. I've heard pretty much everything you can do to a human, really. And in the end, I have not seen a dramatic difference between people who, for example, have been horrifyingly sexually abused for a lifetime, every day, sold into slavery, even by a parent, versus somebody who was just neglected. I don't love you, I don't love you. I don't love you again. That's all it is. And the child ends up feeling worthless, alone, withdrawn, angry, blah, 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 blah. So I don't really care what the originating wound was. Well, with people who are sexually abused, are you slower to hold them? No, not at all. None. Well, but what about people who have fill in the blank? I don't care. What I care about is the pain, though. A lot. I care a lot about your pain. Just don't care how it was delivered.
But you don't take the pain off. You send the love out.
This is a common misconception. So, watch parents. A child is in pain. Now we're coming to the second half of your question. That's how I deal with it. How do you deal with it? So, let's say you've got a son who's whatever. I don't care. Depressed, discouraged, jobless, in pain. And you see everywhere. You see all parents do this. You see it on television, blah, blah. And the parents go, I'm just in such pain about my sons. Yeah, well, you're screwed. You've bought into the bullshit that the world teaches. So we've got a kid who is drowning, and in order to empathize with your child, you jump in and drown with him. Beautiful. It's so sweet watching the two of you just... No. In fact, I once had a son. Well, I still do. But there was a time when it was close to me not having this particular son. And he was irritated. He said, you love me just like you do the people in real love. And I went, which means what? What would you like to be different? He said, well, when I'm in pain, you don't cry. I said, oh, my God, you want the special love. So, with you, I will have the grade A love, and with everybody else, I will just dumb it down a little bit and love them grade B or C. So right now, your life is shit. He was really having some troubles at the time. No, lost a job, lost a girlfriend, and his hair all in 1 week. And he was talking to me like it was my job to fix it. And I was just listening to him. And he said, sometimes when you use that calm tone of voice, I want to come across the table and choke you to death. I said, you might have the wrong father. Not what he was looking to hear. You're having a really hard time. I get it. You don't need me crying with you. You're not going to feel better if I'm drowning in the same place you are. If you haven't figured out I care about you after this many years, then you just might have the wrong dad. Silence. Victims love to screw you to the wall. I wasn't dismissing his pain, but I'm not going to drown with you. I won't do it. It wouldn't help you. I knew that wasn't going to be the end of it. And so I said, love you, hugged him, took him to his car, and he stormed off in a huff. He kind of had to, up yours on the way out of the driveway. And then it all went away. He got it. It gets hard to deny after a while. And then he just started calling, and I just kept texting him, and then I'd call, and then he wouldn't answer a couple times just to let me know he was mad at me. You can't jump in the pool with them. Make sense? They need somebody on the land, oddly, when they're drowning, or in a boat, or whatever. It's very calming. Just because somebody invites you to a fire doesn't mean you have to attend. You don't have to go inside the building. Anybody else?
I have a question, sir.
Hang on. Half a second. How are you doing?
I'm just doing.
Perfect. She's just doing.
Tuesday I'm having dinner with one of my daughters. And she's 18, and my perception is that she can be manipulated. So she'll give what I call the silent treatment.
To you.
Because I don't always give her exactly what she wants.
Okay.
And I don't want to be sucked into always giving her exactly what she wants. But what's a good balance, and how can I communicate that I love her, and that I care about her, and that I want her to be well long term? And it's important for me not to give her everything she wants, but kind of like what you said earlier today, is give people what they need and not necessarily what they want.
So he has an 18-year-old daughter who is manipulative, and she'll give him the silent treatment or the whatever to get him to give her whatever she wants. And they're very good at it.
She's extremely talented at it.
Yeah. Like I was telling you earlier, a 4-year-old can pick up on a slightly wrinkled brow. You think an 18-year-old can't? And so when the 18-year-old goes, oh, Dad, I really need a new Mercedes.
I got her a Volvo.
He got her a Volvo. Sucker.
I wanted her to be safe. I really did.
Uh-huh. And she successfully manipulated you. So it turns out that, boy, they're good. They do it for a wrinkle of the brow. They do it for a few extra bucks. They do it for... And so it's all you, baby. At some point, you have to decide what matters more. Her having what she wants, which they always cloak in terms of what they need. I need a safe car. Oh, bite me. Until I was through medical school, I rode a bicycle 12 miles to medical school and back, each way. Bikes they don't have airbags. Welcome to poorness. Safety has a price. As Tyrone can tell you when he rides his motorcycle. As I rode mine for 30 years. Woo, they're scary. Well, so what? They're young. You don't teach her the overall principle. You teach it to her one event at a time. And she'll catch on. So, Dad, I really need $1,000. And you go, and I'd love to give it to you. I actually have it to give to you. Now you got their attention. And at some point, I have to choose. Only I can make this choice. Whether I want to give you what would make you comfortable, or whether I want to behave in a way that would increase your lifetime responsibility.
Well, she's mad. She's given me the silent treatment for 6 months because I haven't given her what she wants.
Great. She's only given him the silent treatment for 6 months. So I had one son who gave me the silent treatment for 7 years, and another one for 5 years. And Dad just waited him out. And I sent them emails, this about once a week or so, I love you, and a text, and a box of homemade cookies, which made by me would be like doorstops. Just little I love yous, and they're still just fuming and mad and telling all their friends how their father's a son of a bitch, and I'm good with this. And eventually, they come back. You know why? They want you to love them. Really love them, not just enable them. I work with prisoners all the time. I know more prisoners than you know cab drivers. And I've been to prison, well, visiting. Could have gone the other way. And they have said to me, with tears running down their face, which doesn't happen in prison. That's not acceptable to do, because they're way too tough. When I tell them why they're there, and they say, nobody ever cared enough about me to ask what I was doing and to say no. That's how they get to prison. That's how they get to complete irresponsibility. That's how they get to here. That's how they get to everywhere that's unhappy. Somebody either, doesn't matter what you do, ignored them or enabled them. It's the same. If you enable them, you're still not loving them. Enabling me, as soon as I enable you, I'm telling you, you're a cripple, you couldn't possibly handle this by yourself, and so Dad has to rescue you. Do you think the kid could verbalize that? No. They feel it, though. And so I told all my kids after high school, I would help them through their first year of college. You know, tuition, food, minimal food. No vehicle at all. I would buy a bicycle. And then after that, I hope you've prepared yourself, because you'll be on your own. Every one of them is independent. Every one of them at some point has called me 10 years later sometimes and said, Dad, this has made all the difference in the world. I can do stuff my friends can't do. My friends are still living off their parents, and it's disgusting. So it's hard, because they'll be mad at you. 6 months is just a warm-up. But just because she's silent, you can't be. So roughly, my experience over thousands of parents has been roughly once every week to 2 weeks. You send a text, an email, a package, a letter, a something that just says, I love you in some way. If you do it more often than that, they feel like you're trying to coerce them. Less often, they don't feel it. I don't know, crazy. 1 to 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Don't save her. She'll want you to.
Well, like you, I believe my role is to help them to be self-sufficient.
And listen, people sometimes said to me, well, have your children ever been really hard off? Oh, please. One kid calls and says, I have no... See how I got the whole question in the... What cry is that? Yeah. And it turns out that for the last week he's been sleeping in his car. I said, I'll help. He went, you will? I said, yeah, there's some great homeless shelters. And I'll help you look them up. Click. I'm good. He slept in the car for a month. And then he decided to get a job. Who knew? And an apartment, and started living like a human being. My daughter and her husband had 2 little kids. Little one. Oh, the little babies. And he lost his job. It just vanished. The company was... he couldn't find another job for a year. He looked. This is a hard-working guy. A year. And they went on food stamps. They went on some other form of social something for money. And for a year, he and she ate potatoes. Boiled potatoes, sliced potatoes, fried potatoes, potatoes. And they gave a balanced diet to the 2 kids because they didn't want the 2 kids to grow up with rickets, stuff like that. We never sent money. Now, when we'd go to visit, we'd go to the grocery store because I didn't want to eat potatoes. But at the end of the year, she called me and said, when he got a job, she said, "Thank you for not saving us. We learned a lot." Wouldn't have worked. They lived in a garage, by the way. Somebody's garage with no bathroom. You can picture that if you want. Not like some tricked out, no, a garage that they threw up plywood on the walls and created rooms and used timber, no joke, I wish I were, they pulled out of dumpsters to make bunk beds, and they survived. And they're way stronger for it. I lived poor as dirt when I was in college. Nobody helped me. I went to the grocery store once a month on my bike and went all through the store and found whatever food was cheapest per pound. That's what I ate for that month because it was on special. So one month I ate oatmeal. 1 month I had pancakes because pancake batter was on sale that month. 1 month I ate carrots until I looked in the mirror and went, "Oh my gosh. You can actually turn orange." Who knew? 1 month, I don't recommend this, I decided, well, they have exactly the same ingredients and the same label. So I thought, and one of them was half the price. So, well, hell, I got tuna fish for cats. That was an unfortunate month. But you can eat anything with Miracle Whip. I'm just saying. But you getting how this isn't mean, this is loving. So if you raise a child with cars and toys and and they're not independent, you just raised a crippled child. I know a guy who's 40 years old who was raised by a wealthy man, wealthy oilman. And his father took care of every one of his needs. All of them. The cars, everything. And he grew up not knowing how to do one single thing. And then he discovered that he couldn't stand to even be in the same globe as his father. And decided he didn't want to see him anymore. Now he had no funds, no resources, no skills, no nothing. And he'd been a fun-loving playboy up to that point. How much fun do you think he's having now? He's having to adjust. Anyway, made that point enough. Dale?
Do you remember what you told me to do with my daughter? I have the same daughter.
I don't. But I'll bet you wrote it down.
Same kind of relationship. You told me, when I used the language that you...
Yeah.
So here's what and this is right after our intervention because she lives in Atlanta. Adrian, right?
Yep.
I had the worst relationship with her.
Yep.
Never talked to her. When I did talk to her, you had silent treatment for years. And he said, here's what you do. After the intervention, we went down to...
Give him a microphone. Somebody... Oh, that's me. He said, I have a daughter just like that. And after the intervention, I said to Dale, here's what you do.
So you go down and meet with her at Starbucks, buy coffee, and sit down, and tell her this. This is all you told me to tell her. Tell her that you fucked up as a dad, right? So I said, that's it? And you said, that's it? You know, I was a little skeptical. But I said, I'd give it a shot. And so I did exactly that. We went to Starbucks, got our coffee, we sat down, and I sat across from her. I think she was like 25 at the time. And I told her that. I told her, you know what, Adrian, I fucked up as a dad. I swear to God, the energy in that room just shifted. And she just started laughing. That was it. We talk all the time now. This was what, maybe 4 years ago? The energy, it was palpable. I felt the energy shift in that room. And now we're just like BFFs, right? I never thought that would happen.
And he called me going, Wow. Why didn't I do this before? Because we didn't know. Because our children hold us hostage. That's why. Who taught them? We did. We did. As soon as you frown when they do something you don't like, you're their slave. You are their slave. Because they just took your happiness with what they did and they go, I like it. So they just slip a ring in your nose at night and just jerk on it whenever they want. Crazy. Anna.
Okay, let's see if I can put this quite say what I want to say in one sentence. Okay, so all this talk about cars and helping them with college and stuff. So I'm thinking like, okay, so you have an amount of money which is called fuck you money, which is a lot of money that you never have to worry for generations. So then there will never be any worries. So it's like, so if you have if you're a perfectly loving person with a shit ton of money, then obviously your children would want to go out in the world and love people. Maybe. If you're a perfect loving parent, and I'm really super rich, now my kids want to just do what you guys are doing. So then money and prestige and all that stuff is not important for the kids. So then why wouldn't I just pay the college or whatever and then pay their loving missions to all over the world? Like, how does that... Do you see what I'm trying to say?
I do. So if I were perfectly loving and I had unlimited funds, which would limit that to a population of about one person on the earth, then why not just give them the money, right, for college and other things, and they would still be loving people, right? That actually makes sense to some, but it doesn't work that way, because children can feel loved with no conditions. They can actually pass on love to other people, but there's 3 legs to being happy: loved, loving, responsible. And you can't teach them responsibility if you solve all their problems with money. Can't. They can't learn to be independent. So like, this hotel is called the Marriott Hotel, formed by J. Willard Marriott and his wife and their corporation. And he had a son whose name is Bill. And from the time Bill was 8, he was working in the family business. Bussing tables, hauling stuff, moving chairs, blah, 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 blah. He had a nice house to live in, but he earned everything. Write him. And he does the same with his kids. Because you can love a kid and they'll feel loved, but you cannot give a kid confidence with love. Confidence comes from encountering difficulties and surmounting them.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so it has to be like earthly difficulty.
Gotta be. You know why? Because we're on the earth. Because they're going to encounter, because if you just raise a kid with kumbaya, I love you, and they've never had to deal with responsibility, earthly responsibilities, they're going to be crushed by the next earthly truck.
So then the loving means actually...
You're getting there.
Basically giving them some shit.
Yep.
I mean, because if you're so rich that you don't, then...
Loving includes responsibility. Love and teach. Love and teach, it's one word. Love and teach.
So there is no like...
Nope. Nope, it doesn't exist. I learned to unconditionally love my children, and we intentionally gave them jobs to do. Even if it was dig a hole there and move the dirt there and then move it back. I didn't care. They had responsibilities.
But what if the kid, say for instance, okay, right now, okay, somebody has a kid, perfectly loving, has a fuck ton of money, kid is going to college, and the parents say, well, I think this person is already responsible and knows stuff. And you say, yes, wow, this 15-year-old is very responsible. So then that kid would spend a lot of time just paying for college instead of being out loving people, which I think would be
At 15, he needs to learn responsibility just as much as he needs to learn loving. So you do both. And the hypothetical situation of perfectly loving and perfectly wealthy people, we can dismiss that. Okay, hang on 1 second. I'm going to answer it, and then you can ask a question. Okay, they know the answer to this. We have a very sweet boy. That's another child question, so we'll get to that later. Somebody asked me a question that's not about a child. Tom.
It struck me when you said that you never ask somebody if they want to be helped. You just do it. And it groups here in Phoenix, it's pretty common. You ask people if they want to be held or touched or whatever. And which seems reasonable, especially when you get new people in for whom touching could be a completely alien, creepy thing. But is that bullshit, or?
No, it's entirely reasonable in a group to ask people. Notice I said, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm a little bolder than most people. And a little more sensitive to whether people want that or not. So, to be fair, I don't hold everybody. But just because they're afraid, that's not enough reason. Make sense? It takes time to build this up, to build up this ability to feel loved and to love other people. It really does. Some of you have heard these stories. Too bad. I built a bridge across my creek 30 years ago, and it lasted beautifully. It stayed there when everybody else's bridge washed out. But then it got old. Pressure-treated wood actually has a time limit on it. Look on the side. There's a little thing there that says 25-year wood. Makes you wonder where they test that, doesn't it? 25 years? But I had to replace it. And I replaced it with a steel bridge, I-beams. They each weigh 1,000 pounds, which proved to be difficult to take from the driveway down a steep slope and out to the bridge, as well as being buttressed by 4,000-pound rocks. So we laid the 4,000-pound rocks. We laid 10,000 pounds of concrete and bolts sticking up and rebar and all of that before the bridge went across the creek 1 foot. All that work. My gosh, anybody here ever mix concrete by hand? Well, I finally cheated and got my own mixer. Should have done that a long time ago. My point is, it takes a lot of attention, awareness, sometimes even effort, to build the foundation for what you're going to do the rest of your life. So, in order to build your daughter's independence, well, that's going to take some effort and some work and some discomfort, and she's not going to like it. And until I realized what was going on, I was invincible when I was younger. And so I would go out and work on the bridge, and I sweat like a crazy person. In Georgia, of course, when it's 90 degrees and 90%, you tend to sweat anyway. And I used to work until my clothes were all sweaty and my boots filled up and overflowed. That's a lot of water. And I used to be able to do that no problem. And then I discovered I was having the oddest sensations. I would have my feet would just curl into cramps. And I'd go to write and my fingers would go. And I'm watching this, it's very freaky. And finally I started coming in the house and I would just almost have a seizure. I mean, I'm just locked up on the floor screaming because it hurts, which Donna found annoying, so she would just throw a blanket over me. I was dehydrated and losing electrolytes. Who knew? So there was a period of discomfort till I figured out what the hell was going on. That's what's going to take for her. That's what it takes for everybody who learns this. There are moments of discomfort where you kind of don't know what the hell you're doing. But on the other side of it is pretty cool things. I can drive a truck across my bridge.
I have a comment, actually.
Go.
They have to work for it. You don't even have to teach them. They have to work for it. Because my parents made everything easy. kid.
She said, my parents made everything easy for me.
And when this gets hard, I still want to just sit and wait for somebody to come fix it. No, I got
she's
my daughter, Michael. Stephanie, my daughter, I wish she would have done this about $6,000 ago. We cut her off. And she didn't tell me this, she told my husband, but she was happy that I cut her off. And I went and visited her last week in California, and she is living with a guy. She didn't want to tell me that first. She's making $15 an hour, so I mean $15 a day sometimes, because she works on commission. She walks through the streets like 8 hours a day. She was wearing sandals and it was cold, and I asked her why. And she said, the only thing I have otherwise is some boots. She didn't ask me for anything. I did buy her a $25 pair of tennis shoes, but she's happy. And she didn't ask for anything except sushi. I thought that was reasonable.
So Tammy, the person who's speaking,
I'm 46 and I don't know how to do it.
her parents made it easier for her, and so she has not intentionally spent the rest of her life expecting other people to make it easy for her, even in real love. And so she makes the common mistake that people do, which is, well, I just need to go get some more, go get some more, go get some more. Is this sounding familiar? That's what a heroin addict does. People say, well, can't real love be just as addictive as anything else? Yeah, if you aren't paying attention. Got to go get my fix, got to make a call, got to. She's sitting here surrounded by loving people and going, got to touch him, got to see. Geez, calm down. We're in a banquet hall. There's a turkey leg right over there. It'll be there in 5 minutes. Relax. Or in my case, a rack of ribs. Now I just... Donna gives me green shit instead. But she's still... Okay. She's still... It's up to you guys. She still has to learn to do this on her own. People cannot carry her over the threshold of getting this. And she still wants them to. Okay. I said to her one day, I'm not going to prove this to you anymore. I've said this to more than one of you. I am not going to prove to you anymore that I love you. Because people will call and go, do you love me? And go, no, not going to buy. Not playing. La, 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 la. You got to do the work. Somebody, Vina, dear.
I just wanted to add to that, I'm also one of those people. I was a master at manipulating my parents to get anything that I want. And even though theoretically you can love your kids and you can give them anything, in reality, I think it does affect the love that they feel, because the only reason you do that is if you're afraid of them. And your kids can feel that like a lot sooner than they'll let on. If you stop giving to them, they can, like, it's just such an enormous relief when their parents aren't scared of you.
Did you hear what she said? I mean, her parents spoiled her. They gave her everything she wanted because she was good. She could manipulate them with a smile, with a tantrum, with a frown, with a whatever. She got whatever she wanted. And she ended up thoroughly miserable. As miserable as you can get, like mentally ill miserable. Are we communicating here? Nuts. I mean, one time she was up at her boyfriend's house in New York, and he called me and described some behaviors that she was doing. And he said, I don't know what to do. I said, call the cops and have her arrested. He did. That worked. So she's so good that she went to one of the big, medical centers in New York where they know everything, And she was seen by the chief psychiatrist at this big hospital in New York, who calls me at home and goes, what do I do with her? And I'm going, I said, she's pretty good, isn't she? She said, I don't, I said, she said, she's calm now, so I could let her go. And I said, oh no, let her rot at least for another night in those nasty little whatever they are, which isn't a hotel room, in the mental health ward, the loony bin. So they let her rot overnight just because hard lesson. But she's just adorable. I mean, she did it when she had a baby. A moment. You know, I have this baby and the baby crying. Really? I've never had a baby cry. And I actually said to her, your parents would be pleased at the karma. And then I said, so call my daughter, talk to her, because she's lived through more crying babies. I'll help you through the your part of it. And here she is. And the baby's at home, being taken care of by the husband who used to just play video games and ignore everybody. You just don't quit. Damn it. It's right at the precipice where it's hardest, that's where we quit. And the result is right on the 1 foot more. So close. I don't know why, but it's always hardest right at the verge, isn't it? Seems like it. Probably because the risk is greater, the vulnerability. I'd be a guess. I don't know. Just is. But she's just a living example of it. Karen, Darlene, there are people all over this room who've just persisted. Elizabeth and Gar, I first met them at a convention 4 years ago, and geez, Gar was fine, but Elizabeth, sheesh. No, it was a mess. And there were times where Gar said it. We were just about to get divorced. Sure, that would be an easier solution. No, it isn't. Because then you have to do it again. Until you can learn to be happy by yourself and learn to be loving with the person that you're with, without pointing your finger at them, you're just going to do it again. You think it's her or him, and it ain't. I'd have given up on Dale a long time ago. Here we go. Jacqueline can be pretty aggressive. She can be pretty controlling. And for somebody like Dale who doesn't like to be controlled, whoa, that was not good. So they came over to see me, and I said to Dale, honey, you have my permission. I'll write it down for you. You don't ever have to do anything she ever tells you to do again. It was like a kid naked in the candy store. He's smearing chocolate all over himself, just going. Yeah. And Jacqueline would make just a suggestion. Would you like to go out to eat? I don't have to do anything you say. He went hog wild. Okay. So he went hog wild and she went crazy. And that's kind of what you're going to have to go through for a while. There isn't a way to go from crazy to sane without more crazy in the middle. And it's more uncomfortable crazy because you haven't done that kind yet, right? You're used to this kind. You stay over there. And they persisted and they persisted, and geez, they're happy with each other, which nobody would have predicted. It's so fun to see. Persist. Don't ever quit. Somebody was twitching. Probably picking your nose. Did that. So somebody came up and said, Suzanne, how you doing?
Better.
Better?
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
You don't have to analyze every damn thing, by the way. She's doing better. I've been looking at her face. She's smiling. She's happier. What'd you think? Doing better?
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, sometimes when you're holding somebody, loving somebody, whatever. Sometimes you have to tell them how much better they're doing. Because you've been living in a shithole your entire life long. Somebody drags you out of the shithole. They scrape the shit off your eyes. Well, they look down, they're still covered with shit. See? They don't realize how far they've come, right? Because it still smells the same. In fact, you stirred it all up. So sometimes you have to actually say, honey, you're doing better than you thought. You know? What you just did was very cool.
Sometimes sliding back into the shit is security.
Oh. Gar says sometimes sliding back into the shithole is security. Oh, man, we know it. In fact, if you're in the shithole, most people will stay away from you. Because oddly, their shithole doesn't stink. They're up right to their nose, but I'm good. Oh, hang on one second. Echo off what you just said. So there was a lady who was standing here in line. She came up and said something like, she said, I was doing fine until I was standing in line and saw you, blame me, and then I got afraid. Sure. Because right at the verge of making a change, all the inertia of your past pain comes up and just bites your ass. And then you get afraid, and what you do is you reach out and grab hold of whatever you can get, which ironically is the bars of the cage you've been living in all your life. There's a security to that. I will actually intrude into your cell. I'll come right into your cell, pick you up, no kidding, and try to walk out with you. But if you hang on to the bars hard enough, you ever tried to pull somebody away from a bar? Then I'll quit. I won't keep jerking and do that involuntarily. I will try to walk you out because some people can't walk out. Does that make sense? But if you grab hold, I will just gently set you down and say goodbye, and I'll be back eventually. With some people, it's a long time. So I give up real slowly, in case some of you hadn't noticed. Jacqueline. See, you won't sit in front of me next time. But sometimes I do. So if I keep trying and loving somebody and trying, and there've been like 3 people in the last year where I've just said, I don't know how to help you. I really don't. I'm not kidding. I'm not being sarcastic. I don't know, because you don't ever trust me. So I don't know how to make a difference. So here we go again. 0. It's not teaching me anything. I've seen resistance before. You're not learning anything. 0 plus 0 equals 0. So I go, you need somebody better. 3 times out of how many in the last year? All 3, at some point after that, a year, month, 4 months, have realized I don't have anybody who will tell me the truth. Everybody is so afraid of my pain. I am in so much pain that I can fool everybody. Get me? And people will sympathize, which is not what we need. We don't need sympathy. We don't need tears when we're crying. And then they ask for help again. Okay. I couldn't help before. Let's see, maybe I can help this time. I don't know. I really don't. You had a question.
Could you talk about being happy single?
Oh boy. He said, can you talk about being happy single? Wow, what a huge mistake. What a huge lie is taught everywhere. On screen, in #1 genre of books sold in the world is romance novels. Nothing even close, by the way. They make Harry Potter look like a hobby. Because we live with the notion that I will be happy when a sexual, almost always, it's a sexual intimate partner adores me, well, then I'll be worthwhile and happy. Duh. Guy looks at you and goes, oh my gosh, it's you. And then if the guy is hot, like me, then you can't resist that, right? Now, why does he have to be hot too? Because that actually, this is the craziness of the whole thing. It makes his love more valuable. If a stupid, ugly guy with no teeth loves you, well, hell, he loves his hogs too. I know, because I'm from Northwest Georgia. So the exchange is just irresistible. If you've had nothing, that's a lot. Until you can figure out how to feel unconditionally loved enough, loving enough, responsible enough, which equals happy enough, without a partner, you're going to screw up any relationship you're in. If you're dating, I tend to tell people, run away. And then, of course, the partner that I tell them to run away from takes it personally, hates my guts, and I go, well, join the huge long line. It's not about hating the other. It has nothing to do with the other person. You ain't ready for a relationship with a parakeet. I had a parakeet as a kid. It's pretty hard to kill them. No kidding. I only killed 2. So you figure it out by getting loved by people with whom you couldn't possibly have an intimate, exclusive, sexual, pick your word, relationship. That's how you figure it out first. Now, let's say you're already been, see, the term dating is really fuzzy. You've already been with somebody for 6 months, 12 months, you're sleeping together, you share households. You know, after a while, see, I just call that married. You're going to have to figure out what that is. I can't help you with that. Once you're in a relatively committed relationship, then okay, you want to do it the hard way? Let's go. Let's do it. But ask Gar and Elizabeth how hard it's been. Learning to feel loved and loving is like climbing a mountain anyway. And so if you're dragging along a partner who has, so you got all your own baggage, you got weights around your ankles, and then you're carrying your partner on your back too. Now, of course, she has to periodically carry you also. But, whoa, that's hard, isn't it? But it can be done. Gar and Elizabeth are doing it. Bill and Cindy are doing it, as far as I can see, but then Bill's an inveterate liar. And but there are lots of people in this room doing it. Dale and Jacqueline are doing it. Let me tell you about difficult in the beginning. Whatever. Vina's doing it with Oliver. It's very cool. It can be done. But if you got a choice, figure out happy single first. Donna, for example, has been married. We don't really know how many times, because in the north of Canada they don't keep written records. But at least according to the latest ice carvings, she was married. I'm really enjoying this. Now. But see, I'm living for the now. This might be an example of not living in the now. Don't do that. But in her last marriage, I'm enjoying this more and more. It was only the second. She made a conscious decision. I am not leaving this marriage until I learn how to be loving in this marriage with this person, whether they change or they don't. That's cool.
4 years to do that.
4 years.
I hate your guts. I could kill you now. I really want you to be happy. Do whatever you want to do.
She is my favorite person on earth. And by far. And when she's sufficiently threatened, it's less pretty. Boy, she's scared that second husband to death.
Oh my gosh, that was so fun. He's so smart. You know, I'm just this dumb little girl, and he's just so smart. Man, I could annihilate him.
He was 6'5", 300 pounds. He was huge. He was a huge man. And he would tiptoe around her, terrified.
He's up in a tent.
She put him out back in a tent. There was no question about him coming back in. She could be pretty scary. But she kept it up. She kept it up until she could be loving. Way back in the day. I just knew her as a friend. And she'd call and she'd say, he's in there just browbeating and screaming at one of the kids. Her kids. You know, from a previous marriage. You know, that her and his. Yeah. And boy, you get the picture of Mother Bear. Don't mess with the kids. Yeah. And she'd call me going, leave it alone, honey. Leave it alone. Learn to do this loving. She did. And then when she got it loving, she left. Because it didn't make any difference to him. None. He never learned to feel loved, never learned to be loving, and since she'll never learn his name, and never learned to be responsible. It was, 2 years before she learned the job that he went to every day? He didn't have one. That the car insurance that, he'd say, oh, not a problem, that she was out driving, there wasn't any. Da-da, 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 and on and on. That never changed. And so after a while, she finally decided, leave the pig sounds good. So she did. But not in a twist. See? You do it in a twist, you're not going to learn. You don't learn anything while you're afraid. Anybody? I forgot about the tent. Oops. I wonder if the Marriott has tents. Brenda?
In that case, because it's kind of similar for me, but do you convince someone that they're drowned, that they're on fire? Is it appropriate, because that's what I've been doing, trying to convince someone that they're drowning, their hair's on fire and it's blowing off, because the effects won't be seen until later, but they're happening already. But is it appropriate, or do you just give up? I don't know.
So, is it appropriate to convince, say, hypothetically, a partner who's sitting next to you that...
My friend.
Oh, okay. Is it appropriate, hypothetically, to convince a partner that they're drowning? No. Is it appropriate to state it? Yes. If you don't point out to your partner they're drowning, tell me who's going to do that. Because when they go drinking with their buddies, you think their buddies are going to point it out? Not a chance. Every single friend we have, we chose for the specific reason that they would never point out the things that we most need to hear. That's why we picked them. That's why they stay friends. So you have to. But here's the trick. You have to do it because you care about them. We almost always point out people's flaws because they inconvenience us. There are times that I have pointed out a mistake Donna's made. There was the 2 times. And then I got the tent cure. And she'll actually say to me, so are you pointing this out for your benefit or for mine? Let me get back to you. So yeah, it's okay to point it out. But if I point out to you that you're drowning, and how, not just you're drowning, that's a me thing. I point out what you do that is causing you to be unhappy, and possibly our shared child or children or dogs or whatever. Here's how it's affecting people. That's great. Pointing it out once is informative. Pointing it out twice can be informative. Pointing it out 3 times is being a nagging bitch. Because they got it. It's like mothers who insist that their children eat healthy. Okay, have you explained this to your children before? Yes. Have you shown them the diagrams of nutrition? Yes. Do they understand it? Yes. Can they repeat it back? Yes. And yet you nag them every time they come home with a crumpled up McDonald's bag in their pocket. That's nagging. So let them eat whatever they're going to eat and give them Flintstones vitamins. Whatever. One of my granddaughters ate, until she was 4.5, pureed baby food out of a bottle. And my son would go, is this okay? Put vitamins in it. I don't know. Make sure that the essential amino acids are in there. You know, beans, pureed meat, whatever. So you know how you do that. You balance corn and beans and that stuff that y'all vegans know about. And so do that. But, you know, she'll quit it. She'll go out on her first date and, you know, her boyfriend will say, what would you like? And she'll pull out of her purse, you know, a couple of bottles of baby food, and that'll be the end of that. Just like boys who are filthy and stink and don't bathe, and the parents are all in a snit about it, and I'm going, oh, just leave them alone. Wait till either their friends or the first girl goes, what the hell is that? And the only thing in the room is him. Yeah, he'll start to shower. See what I mean? Gosh, we want to control everything now. Nope. Donna did that with her second husband. Just kept at it and learned to be loving, and he didn't respond. What if she'd insisted he respond immediately? Oh, man, she would have just been doomed. She would have gone on to the next one. She's still fixing me. She needs to. Anybody? Yes, sir.
You know, Greg, you answer emails like it seems like 24 hours a day.
Uh-huh.
You got what most of us would consider a really busy schedule.
Uh-huh.
So the question is, how do you avoid overwhelm?
So you wouldn't notice it because all you get is an individual email. But I do what I want to do. So if I get tired, for example, I watch a movie every single day. Every day. Religion. So I just sit down and if I feel like answering emails while I watch the movie, then I will. But oddly, it's not an effort anymore. So if I'm writing along to you and I'm typing along and then it says, and then the monster rose up. I do it when I want to. And don't apologize for it. And there's sometimes I say to Donna, for the next 3 hours, nothing. No calls, 0. So I figure it out. Like with my knees, since I've been here. I'm up here, I'm down there, whatever it takes so I can get to the end of the day, and then I'm going to go upstairs and ice them for 3 hours. Whatever. But I love what I do. That's the other thing. It's pretty fun. But if you attempt to give, this subject's been touched on a number of times. If you attempt to give more love than you have, you lose. You will empty out. The person that you're attempting to love will feel it. Actually, they don't feel it. They don't feel you're loving them. And so everybody loses. So if I answer your email, I wanted to. If you don't hear an answer from my email, most of the time, I'd say the average response time for my emails is an hour. That's average. It's usually less, because I have no life. Or I like my life. But sometimes I go through a list and go, nah, none of them. Nope, nothing that really has to happen, so I don't. Or I'll wear out. And then I'm useless. To me and to you. So, no. Does that help? And same advice to you. Love as much as you can. And then stop it. Don't keep going. You won't like it. So we know we've talked about what real love is. What is it not? It's not comfort. We talked about this with the kids. Because the kids will look at you and say, I'm in pain, you don't love me. No, real love isn't making you comfortable. It's not indulgence. It's not, many people define real love, I've heard them do it. Real love means caring more about other people than myself. Where did you get this? In fact, a guy wrote me and he said, I don't see how this is true. And I said, me neither. That's codependence. One definition. What a murky word. No, I'm not supposed to love you more than me, in which case I would keep giving you what you need until I was dead. See? Now I'm useless to everybody. It's not giving people what they want. What does a cocaine addict want? Cocaine. What does your daughter want? Money, car, whatever. Nope, not what she needs. And it's not trading. Oh, you know that. Now, many people in a real love setting will manipulate you for imitation love using real love terms. So they will tell you the truth about themselves, and then what they want is sympathy. And then sometimes people will even say, because I've seen it on the forums and other places, people will say, well, I just wanted somebody to hear me, not to tell me what I'm doing. Well, we talked about that this morning. If that's your first time describing your pain, I'll listen to you till you fall over. Really. If it's your 20th time describing the same pain, it's time to talk about what you're doing. Now, yeah, we got to get to that. You can interrupt any time you want. Yeah, you would.
So on that topic, I know on that topic that what you just said, I know that, for me, and I'm afraid, and I know that, and I host, and maybe I shouldn't be, and that's something I think about, but, I guess as long as I'm afraid, I'm going to be afraid to tell the truth when I do see it, but a lot of times I do say it, and maybe I just don't have the right talent for doing it in a way that, I think I'm pretty good at loving, but I get a lot of splash back, and it's really scary. Maybe I don't have a question. I thought I did, but I'm just, I know. There's probably people in the room that know how afraid I am, and that I think even when your question earlier was because in that moment, it's all I know is that I'm showing up trying to be more loving, or to be loving, and I'm afraid. So that was it. I don't know. Sorry, no question.
So, what did you hear? She's afraid. How do you know? A lot of words. It's a lock. If somebody uses a lot of words, they're afraid. Words are bricks. We use them either to build walls or to build monuments upon which we stand, or to throw at the people who are threatening us. That's what we do with words. And she used a whole lot of them. So here's the short version of her question. I'm still afraid a lot. Does that disqualify me from being a wise person? Did I miss anything? Isn't that the question? Yeah. And I said that in roughly 20 times fewer words. Maybe 19. And it's because of the fear that there's a lot of words. Am I criticizing her using a lot of words? Nope. Just teaching her something and you something. Too many words. So, how many hosts are without fear? None that I know of. I'm the least afraid guy I know. And I still screw it up. Just don't care. So, sure you're afraid. And you judge your progress by the quarter. You have more experienced people maybe come and listen to you now and again. Donna has no mercy at all. So ask her to monitor a call that you're taking with somebody, or ask somebody else. Kind of as a sounding board. But so what if you have some fear? Big deal. Keep at it, kid. Otherwise, shoot. I would have told Vina to leave Oliver a long time ago, and a lot of people keep trying. Somebody else is over in the corner because I don't think I've heard you speak yet.
Hi, Tony.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony. I was in the restroom earlier. This goes back to this.
We're not going to get real detailed.
Someone that wasn't in real love looked at my name tag and said, "What's real love?" And I was like, "Real love." I couldn't find a short way to say it.
So, I would actually suggest, this was very difficult for me in the beginning, to give you an idea. I'd written 3 books on the subject. 3 books on the subject. And my editor said, okay, tell me, what is real love? I'm in New York City. They're merciless there. Mean-spirited, you know. The taxi drivers eat small children. And the editor said, what's real love? And I went, he said, you're screwed. He said, you've got to have it down to where you can explain what real love is and I have it all written down in case somebody writes me. And then I can just go, but now I can do it in my head easy. I can explain real love to an audience in 5 days. 1 day, an hour, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds. And anything in between. Just tell me how many minutes I got. Because I've been on 1,600 radio and television shows. And I say, how long have I got? Excluding commercials. And how much of the time are you going to be bullshitting and getting the audience's attention for yourself? You can't really ask that question. So you get to where you can explain it in any period of time. So I'm in the restroom, and a guy asks me. I say, it's unconditional love. The kind of love that almost none of us got because we were loved, supposedly loved, more when we were good and less when we screwed up. How long did that take? 30 seconds. I'm done. If they want to know more, there will be a clue. They'll ask you a question. If they don't, then they'll go pee. Well, it was hypothetical. No guy would ever ask me that question. If a guy actually asked me that in a restroom, I'd go,
Thank you.
Jacqueline, dear?
Yes. You say you can't give love when you don't have it because you're empty. But then there's also, when you're empty, try giving love.
and then you're taking love. So where's that line?
So you can't give what you don't have, but one of the 5 listed ways of getting love is to give it. What you do is you try it. And you may discover, so let's say you're pissed at Dale because he whatever. You really, in those circumstances, rarely can do something like kiss him on the mouth and ravish him. But you could, for example, go outside and vacuum his car. You could curse at him the whole time. You could initially hate it. And what you'll discover is that sometimes just in the act of going out and doing something kind for him, your canoe gets back in the line. And you feel better. That's why Donna does so many nice things for me. She's going, I think I can't. I think. Does that make sense? Yeah. So they sound incompatible, but not quite. Yes?
So you were talking earlier about that person doing something repetitively, and on the 20th time, it's time to address the issue. What's the difference between tough love and truth when you're talking to them? Is there
Tough love is just a really murky philosophy that involves